Well, Stratfor, in collaboration with ETM Analytics, has put together a report that's entitled "The Decline of the Dollar is Not the Decline of the United States." And this report is just one of many that they've had over the last several weeks with ETM Analytics. And in essence, they're just trying to describe what the hierarchy is in the world of global financial players. And ETM and Stratfor have agreed on many aspects of what the strengths and weaknesses of a global economy are, but there's also some disagreements. But here are some things that Stratfor does agree with ETM Analytics about. It says Stratfor agrees with several of the assertions put forth by our friends at ETM Analytics in last week's series on global macroeconomics. And the reason why I'm bringing up this article is because many in the world of Bible prophecy believe, for some reason, that the United States is about ready to implode and that its financial power is about ready to erode away. In fact, I've heard some comments and some articles, videos from other places indicate that this is the year that's going to happen. You should also take in consideration that in September of 2015, it was believed by many in the world of Bible prophecy that the United States was going to collapse. And certainly we know that didn't happen. Well, that was then updated to April 23rd, 2016. Again, it didn't happen. And the reason why they continue to make these mistakes is because instead of following solid financial data that is readily available through good, paid or unpaid sources for that matter, many seem to believe what some person on YouTube or InfoWars or some other type of crazy source of that nature have to say over good, intelligent data. And I don't know why that's the case, but there's many out there that do. But I'm not that way. I believe that when the rapture takes place, it will not be in the face of financial collapse. It will not be in the face of some type of World War III war. But the Bible says pretty clearly that when the rapture takes place, it'll be like any other day. People will be given in marriage and going about their everyday task and just going to work. And it will be a normal, everyday life that we'll be living. But as I've said many times, it just seems like many believe that we're going to be on the verge of collapse worldwide, in not only the financial world, but also in the world as far as war is concerned. But that's contrary to what the Bible says. Now, certainly there will be wars and rumors of wars and things of that nature, but nothing in the magnitude of a world war. And certainly nothing in the magnitude of a world financial collapse. But let me go on with the article. It says, we agree, for example, that the United States sits at the center of the global financial system and that the Federal Reserve's actions will ripple throughout the world regardless of whether that is the governing board's intent. Meaning that the United States, whatever it does, whether it raise interest rate or lower interest rate, is going to affect the entire world. That's how much power they have over the global financial system. The Fed's core mandate, for better or worse, is stewardship over the U.S. economy, and its concerns for the health of the global economy are secondary. There is no doubt that the United States' dominance of the global financial system can put other countries at risk. That risk will continue to drive other countries to protect themselves financially, limited through their options, maybe. In truth, the only powers that could realistically challenge the United States' economic dominance are China and Europe. But neither offer a distinct alternative to U.S. financial hegemony, a view that Stratfor shares with ETM Analytics. To supplant the dollar as the global reserve currency, the rest of the world would have to undertake the long and onerous process of building a consensus. But the dollar would still be an instrumental, if diminished, currency in whatever system that process created. In other words, the weakening of the dollar in global finance would not be synonymous with the weakening of the United States' status as a global superpower. And the reason being is because the United States' strength as a superpower rests on several pillars, including its geography, technological prowess, culture of innovation, financial and economic flexibility, relative political cohesiveness, and military dominance. While any single pillar might weaken at one time, collectively they give the United States a well-rounded foundation and lend it far more flexibility in dealing with its problems than any other nation. In fact, the United States is superior in their international infrastructure with a superb railway system, highway system, and also a superb shipping system. Moreover, the United States is self-sufficient in almost all major industrial and agricultural commodities, with the exception of petroleum. Even then, it is the world's largest petroleum producer. The United States has no strategic threats on its immediate borders, with even further depth supported, for now, by its military and aerospace power. This geographical productivity and external security allow it to take a hands-off economic approach unmatched by most other economies. Its free economic environment cultivates a strong entrepreneurial culture and allows venture capital platforms to flourish, gives its leadership roles in innovation and research and development in all areas of technology and academia, enables a robust financial center, and creates a flexible labor market. In total, U.S. economic power is far from just a consequence of the dollar's hegemony in global finance and makes it a magnet for capital and investment accumulation. And I've said that for many, many years that, listen, the United States is considered a very attractive investment, so that's why we have many other countries investing in the United States. And like I said, if the United States were to fall, every country in the world would be affected. And the domino effect would be catastrophic to the world economy. The bottom line is another economic system would have to take its place. And that's where I believe what will take place when the Antichrist comes in and destroys the U.S. And, he'll have to destroy the U.S. because there's simply no way that two economic systems can thrive under one roof. And that roof being the kingdom of the Antichrist through Satan. And the article goes on and says, a few countries have replicated aspects of those strengths, but no single country has done so on the scale of the United States. For example, the United States sits at or near the top in every category of technological development, while other countries can only lead in some areas. On the whole, the United States can satisfy most of its economic needs, making it one of the world's few heavily industrialized countries with little trade exposure. This gives it more resilience than others to withstand downturns in global trade. But there is a downside to the United States. It says right here, despite these strengths, the U.S. approach poses risk over the next decade. The concern remains that the monetary tools used to manage these risks were blunted with a response to the last economic downturn, and that recovery from a new downturn could drag on given the current state of U.S. interest rates, possibly requiring more stimulus spending. Such spending would only exacerbate the deficit and problems underpinning it. The United States' status as global hegemon certainly does not make it immune to crisis, even painful ones that forced it to turn inward. So while continued economic prowess for the United States appears likely in the long term, the immediate outlook is not necessarily as rosy. There is no doubt that the United States' dominant role in the global financial system gives it outsized influence. The dollar status as the global reserve currency, U.S. influence on multilateral financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and New York's position as the financial capital of the world gives Washington strong leverage that it uses to influence the actions of other nations. As in the case of the recently lifted sanctions that isolate Iran, even if other countries do not align with U.S. positions, they would likely capitulate to U.S. wishes so as not to lose access to U.S. financial markets. The United States still needed support from Europe for those sanctions to have a significant effect, but even without that support, the sheer size of U.S. financial markets would have given unilateral sanctions significant weight. For many years, the mantle of global financial hegemony was held by European powers. Collectively, Europe is a region more populated than the United States, with roughly the same global economic output and far more international trade. However, one of Europe's defining characteristics is its divisions, both geographical and historical. Europe is riven by mountain ranges and peninsulas, allowing countries like Germany and France to generate and trade large quantities of goods without being forced to work together to transport them to the ocean and beyond. The result is a continent defined by cultural differences with strong identities that have been formed often in direct opposition to one another. These identities hinder attempts to unify the continent under a single banner, be it by military means like those of Napoleon, or political means like the European project. But that very well may change once the Antichrist comes on the scene. He may unify this 10-nation kingdom. It is not inconceivable that the European Union very well may break apart and the euro may fall, and the void of power may be filled by the Antichrist. So I will not rule out the fact that it could very well be the Antichrist that leads a new European Union as being the new Mystery Babylon, and that ultimately it will be God who will destroy Mystery Babylon. Now, of course, there is one more player on the world scene, global financial scene, and that is China. But I'm receiving reports from all over the place that China is about ready to collapse. But this has been mainstream news, and also years ago I heard about this through Stratfor, even before China was showing cracks in its economic system and they were trying to keep it a secret. But the word is that debt and industrial overcapacity has all but decimated their economy, and that could very well become more mainstream as they fall ever deeper into their economic crisis. Now, for those who are worried about the U.S. debt, here's what Stratfor has to say about it. It says that the U.S. debt situation could certainly come to a head over the next 2 decades, as could those of other major economies. But in the aftermath, the overall strengths of the U.S. economy would make recovery easier. And in conclusion, Stratfor believes that until a single unified bloc can balance the United States in the same way that the Soviet Union did, it will remain the center of the global political or geopolitical system, regardless of the role the dollar plays. But frankly, don't look for the dollar to fall anytime soon. Now you may want to ask, why in the world did I bring this subject up? Well, because for some reason there are many in this world that believe that the U.S. is going to collapse in the very near future, if not before the end of the year. And there's also those who believe that before the tribulation period begins, or sometime into it, that the U.S. will be relegated to a third world country. Again, that's simply not going to happen. I believe, and not only because of the U.S. strength as far as military power is concerned, but also because of their global strength in the world financial system. The U.S. for decades has been dominating what other countries do and say because of their economic clout. And as stated earlier, that many in the world stand behind the United States because they simply don't want to lose access to the U.S. financial system. And that U.S. financial system is worldwide and is very lucrative. So that's why I believe that if the United States is not Mystery Babylon described in Revelation chapter 18, then we're not in the last days. And the second question is, if U.S. is not Mystery Babylon, then who is? Because as stated in this article, if the U.S. is not the most powerful country in the world, which is what is described in Revelation chapter 18, that they made the whole world rich, then who is it that's going to rise up and meet that description? Now, of course, I said there's an alternate player, that things could change rapidly once the tribulation period begins. As we learned in this article, that the European Union is just as powerful economically. They have a larger population and far more international trade, which really, to tell you the truth, in Revelation chapter 18, it describes the merchants of the sea, how that they cry and lament over the fact that no one would buy their goods anymore. So it could very well be possible that the Mr. Babylon of Revelation chapter 18 could very well be the European Union, the revived Roman Empire, that has been led into prosperity through the leadership of the Antichrist. One thing you should understand is that that Daniel 8:23 through 25 says that the Antichrist will cause craft to prosper under his leadership. Now, many believe that that is witchcraft or deception, and it very well could be, but I believe that what he's going to do is he's going to deceive the nations into believing that his kingdom is prospering and that he will cause his kingdom to prosper. So in conclusion, I believe that the United States is my first choice for the eventual rise of Mystery Babylon, who will be destroyed by the kingdom of the Antichrist, so that he can bring about his one world religion and one world government, financial system. But my second choice is that he will destroy the religious system that will rise up during the tribulation period, and that during the tribulation period that the Antichrist will lead the European Union into unprecedented prosperity. And they will make the whole world rich just before God brings about his wrath down upon the Antichrist and destroys it. So those are two possibilities that very well could come true. And if you don't know the Lord, today is the day of salvation. Don't put it off. 150,000 people die every single day. The Bible says that the vast majority of them will end up in a burning hell. Don't let that happen to you. Come to the Lord, ask him to save you. That's simply put all you need to do. And then turn your life over to him and live for him. And you Christians, get a copy of my Tribulation Period Survival Guide. There are two different copies that I have. One is a free downloadable version. In fact, I'm about ready to open up a fourth translation, and probably by the summer, in which I will have the Tribulation Period Survival Guide translated into English, Spanish, Mandarin Chinese, and German. And all those translations are free for downloading. But if you're one person who would rather hand your lost loved one a copy, I have an English version paperback that you can purchase. Just go down to the description section of this video. It's right underneath this video. And click on the link for either of the free or the paid version, and get this in the hands of your lost loved one as quickly as possible. And I hope you'll make this investment, and I hope you'll do it soon. Well, this is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.